prepped and ready. They've been doing all of their rehearsals, and tomorrow morning they will be out and about to bring the best of the migration to all of you guys on Nat Geo Wild in the States. But you can see how velvety they actually look. Wildebeest often given this rap that they're ugly and bad looking. I actually find them quite sort of charming in a way. I don't know why. They don't have the prettiest of faces, but they got this beautiful velvety sheen, and particularly in nice light they'll get this very sort of blue color that comes out of them, hence the name Blue Wildebeest. I actually quite like them. There's something about them. They're not the most clever animal, but there's something about them that kind of piques my interest, and I don't mind actually spending time with wildebeest. You can see the females are starting to show that they're heavily pregnant. A lot of them are bulging tummies, which will only get bigger and bigger as time goes on. So we should have quite a nice number of little ones running around when the rains come, and so around December, January is when these guys will give birth. Right, Senzo, let's carry on, see if we can't find any signs of shadow now that we've admired our beautiful blue wildebeest. Now the thing is also the problem with wind like this is it really is difficult for tracks, because it completely destroys tracks. So if tracks are not made within an hour, they just get absolutely pulverized. The wind whips up and it makes them dusty and look very old. So it's nice if you get fresh ones and they look really good, because then you know that they're somewhere close by. Like those tracks we had of Tundi this morning. She was somewhere there, and I don't know how we didn't manage to find her, but it goes that way sometimes. And this afternoon the guys have driven all in those areas. I unfortunately haven't gotten there yet, but they drove all in those areas, and so they said they can't find any more signs of her other than the tracks that I circled. So James, you're saying after the knobthorn, what would be the next flowering plant? Sausage trees are often, so unfortunately we won't see sausage trees. Is that an elephant there? Is there an elephant there, Senzo? Straight through the bush. Looks like an elephant. So sausage trees are often early flowerers. They will flower in around September, October. So is there a head of an elephant somewhere in that thicket? Down a little bit. What is that? Something big and grey. I just can't see exactly what it is. No, can't show those guys. Sorry. We thought it was an elephant just given the way that we're seeing, but now that I can see it properly, we shouldn't be showing that at all. Sorry about that, everyone. Difficult to see though where we are. It's a big dense thicket, and that camera lens does go a lot further than I thought. Well, not than I thought, that I know. So so Chantal's laughing at me. Chantal, you come out here and try and identify these things in the wind and far away with dust and light in your eyes. It sometimes can get a little tricky. So sorry about that, guys. That was honestly a big mistake. But I was talking about plants and flowers. So sausage tree, we shall have some of the spike thorns should be flowering now. Guaris will start to flower. What else will be next? Just trying to think of major flowering plants that we'll see. Probably the spike thorns is going to be our biggest flower next. Then we'll get the gardenias, also around the same time as the sausage trees, September, October. And then obviously a lot of the other acacia species start to come from there. You can see Senzo showing you the beautiful golden sun and clouds. If only that looked as warm as it, well, it's only if it felt as warm as it looks, because it looks nice and warm, but it certainly isn't. Now, I believe Taylor has vanquished gremlins and is somewhere with something. I didn't hear exactly what, and given my track record for today where I'm mishearing, misidentifying, can't see, let's go across and see what surprise she's got. Well, either way, I'm sure it will be fun.
Wildebeest or Wildebeest, Kudu, that's what we got. Tristan, I thought it was only fitting that you were looking at one earlier. We've got a very old man over here, and I suspect that it is the same fella that we saw this morning, because we're right here on Chitwa airstrip, and he's still with his fellow Impala friend. Now, if you're wondering, Taylor, how on earth can you deduce from just looking at that wildebeest so quickly that he is an old man? Well, if we have a closer look at his horns, and we talk about this often with the buffalo, you'll notice, look how blunt those tips are on the tips of his horns. They're very worn. I think he has seen many battles in his life, and probably, seen many females in his life too. Very, very good spot out here. He's not too far from the dam. He's got beautiful open areas, and he's also got a thicket to move to. So I reckon he's a top dog in this area, and sometimes it's not only just about being young, fit and strong, but also about a bit of experience. So I would wonder how old he is. He's a lovely fella though. He doesn't seem to mind us at all, and normally on very windy days like this, the animals can be slightly jumpy. Can't hear very well. The scents are all blowing in all sorts of directions. So he's definitely relying on his eyesight at the moment and watching us, keeping a careful eye, standing out in the open too. Off he goes. You're going back to the Impala. Now, Roshni, you're wondering, what are the marks on the wildebeest? What do they consist of? I'm not sure which marks are you talking about. Are you talking about the brindled stripes, or perhaps the calluses that he has on his, with the equivalent of his knee and on the back of his, the stripes. Sorry, I didn't hear, the stripes is what you're talking about. So basically, it's just hair growing against the grain. It creates these beautiful brindled stripes. They're not only known as the blue gnu, but also as the brindled wildebeest. And that is very important for camouflage. He's just about to disappear out of frame. What I'll do is let me reverse and go back to him again, because he's not particularly bothered by us. So let me concentrate actually, because you know what I'm like, I'll crash because I'll talk too much. Don't have to go too far. A nice open spot. No, he's high. There we go. We'll be all right. Yeah. There he is again. He's just keeping an eye on us, wondering what on earth am I doing. So sorry, Roshni, those stripes are for camouflage. So like we see on Kudu and Inyala and Bushbuck, and even Impala to an extent, though their camouflage is slightly different. Stripes or spots, different colorations help break up the solid shape of an animal. So I always like to describe it like this. If you were to put a buffalo and a wildebeest against a shrub, you might find that something like a lion will spot the buffalo a lot easier, because they pick up on sort of solid shapes a lot easier. So even those very slight stripes will help break up the solid sort of silhouette of that wildebeest. So it's important. Same thing goes with different coloration. What are you going to do now? That's a beautiful effect, of course, as he scrapes the ground. They do have glands in their hooves. They've got pedal glands, but it doesn't look like he was just scent marking. I think he was trying to find himself a nice spot. Maybe he's going to give us a little bit of a roll too after he's finished cleaning his nose with his tongue. That's very... No, you're just going to use your... Rather you than me, wildebeest. I'm glad we can't do that. And, I think he's actually just... Maybe he's going to get ready to settle in for the night. Chantal, what was the animal that hunts the wildebeest that you were talking about? Did you say lizard? Oh, leopard, okay, because I thought, if a lizard were to try to hunt a wildebeest, that would be impressive. I'd love to see that. So, Liz, you were wondering if we ever see here in the Sabi Sands leopards hunting wildebeest like the cheetah hunt wildebeest in in Kenya, for example. I haven't actually seen it, but it would not put it past me to watch a fully grown leopard take on a sub-adult wildebeest. Obviously, Tundi has brought down a waterbuck before, female waterbuck. So a wildebeest in terms of weight and size, they're not too far off one another. I'd be a bit nervous going for a wildebeest, so they can be quite aggressive if you get on the wrong side of one. Remember, they're armed with horns, and they're not afraid to use them either. But so yes, a fully grown leopard could quite easily take on a sub-adult wildebeest. But out here, I feel as though there's so many other animals that they can go for. But again, they're opportunistic. So if there's a chance for them to take a youngster, you might find that during the calving season, coming towards the end of the year and the beginning of the year too, that you might find that leopards will go for the young wildebeest calves, because they're sort of easy pickings, if you will. Same thing goes with the impala youngsters and the rest of the animals that give birth at that time of the year. So it depends. But the leopards of the Sabi sands, their number one sort of prey item is indeed impala, steenbok, duiker. And then, of course, they do take waterbuck, they can take young zebra, and they can take wildebeest too. But it's mainly the antelope, and then nyala, bushbuck, and the rest of them come into play as well. It just depends. Again, it's seasonal. At this time of the year, I have noticed that leopards will go after steenbok and duiker, purely because they are so vulnerable. Firstly, they're on their own, those antelope. They're solitary. They mark and defend territories. And there's also very little vegetation for them to hide behind now. So, like I said, the young wildebeest, the young impala are easy pickings during the calving season. Those antelope sort of stand out like a sore thumb now. I mean, it's not uncommon to see a steenbok or a duiker just standing under a marula tree or a jackalberry tree, actually looking for a bit of shade during those hot days. So yes, but he looks a little bit cold. He also looks like he's fluffed himself up slightly this afternoon. I don't blame him. Oh. Jason, you've asked me a question I'm not sure of. You're wondering how long is the gestation period for a wildebeest. Shall we guess, and then I'll check for you. I'm going to say 200 and something odd days, so probably about between 6 and 8 months. Let's have a look though. Let me find wildebeest in my book, and I shall tell you. Oh my gosh, I found it so quickly. That's unusual. Normally it takes me ages. It might actually not be in this one. No, this one doesn't talk about the gestation period of the gnus. No, it just talks about the age that they get evicted. I don't know if I have another one. This one might take me a little bit longer. I think he knows. I wish I could just ask him. Listen, wildebeest, how long are the lady wildebeest pregnant for? Do you see how he ignored that comment? He's not wanting to answer that. It's very rude. Okay, we've got buffalo. We don't want to do buffalo, we want... Here's wildebeest. Oh my gosh, I'm on a roll today when it comes to searching for things in the books. Normally I get so frustrated. Right, they talk about weight. Let's see if they talk about the gestation. I need to find breeding, reproduction. Here we go. No, you have to tell me what the gestation period is. I might actually have to just call on one of you, because this book that I've got is very intricate. Oh, okay. Danley, there we go. Thank you very much. So you've said it every new GNU it takes 250 days for the gestation period. So what's that? Yeah, about 8 months or so, between 7 and 8 months, somewhere around there or so. So that's quite interesting. That wasn't too far off. I like to guess though, but of course I'll always end up giving you trying to give you the most correct information. He's now having a little scratch. So thank you very much. I appreciate all your help. And if you would like to assist us, as many of you do, and just like Stan here, Stan, you're more than welcome to do that. Hashtag Safari Live. We'd love to hear from you. Right, so we're gonna drive along now. I think let's leave our fellow wildebeest and his impala friends, and we'll see what else we can find. And we might go try and search for some lions now. Right, let's go back across to Djuma though, Tristan, and I believe he's having a look at the sunset.
I am indeed, Taylor. I'm enjoying the view in this wind. We've come out onto Impala Plains. No sign of shadow or the cub. No tracks that I can see, or at least not any from today. And it's such a beautiful view from this particular point. It's kind of slopes away from you down here, and then you've got this incredible view and vista to the west, the Drakensberg Mountains in the distance, the frontal clouds above, and then the sun is slowly but surely heading down towards those mountains. So sunset, I would imagine, would be in the next 20 minutes or so. It should be going down behind there, but isn't that a beautiful view? And then the road that just goes down towards where the sun is. Very, very nice indeed. You can see all the dust in the air that's been kicked up by the wind today. Generally that view would be quite clear and crisp on a cold day like today. you'd normally find that you'd see those mountains quite clearly, but they're all hidden and shrouded under dust and bits of cloud, and you can just make them out faintly to the left of the sun there. It's still very, very pretty. A bit of a ray of sunshine, as they say, on a cold and blustery day. If the animals don't play along, then, well, there's always the birds and the scenery as well. One must not forget about the power of scenery to make things happy. And we still have had a wonderful day. We've still at least driven around and seen, explored and seen what else is out here. Unfortunate that we don't have any sort of fresh tracks to work on this afternoon. Now, talking about birds, what have we got in the road here? We've got some sort of bird that is busy flittering about. Now, it looks like one of our pipits. It's all puffed out. It's got orangey legs. Yes, it is an LBJ, Chantal, but now I want to just check which one it is, because I think it is an bushveld pipit, but I want to just make 100% sure. It seems as though we've got a few birds that are stumping us today. It's larks. We don't want larks because it's not a lark. It looks pipit-like. Now let me find the pipits in my book. Give me a second. 382. Wagtails and pipits. Now, Senzo's trying to keep it in shot for me. Somewhere in there. Now, the orange legs should make it fairly easy to identify. The bushveld pipit is too striated on the chest, though, for what that looked like. So it could be African pipit. Let's see, it's got that little white supercilium. I would say African pipit would be my guess. You can see it just sitting still. Now, they're notoriously difficult birds to identify, but for me that's the closest that it is. The other pipits are heavily streaked on the chest, and we know that this one isn't. So African pipit is what I would go for on this particular individual. And it's got the, like I say, those orangey legs, but look at the camouflage on that bird. Well spotted from Senzo, so you can see when you go back, it's very difficult to see. Senzo, can you just go in on its back again for me a little bit? Sorry, I know I'm making you bounce around a little bit, but just there, on a little bit to your left, left, that's right, other way, there we go, and just onto its back there. So you can see it does have a mottled back as well, so African pipit is exactly what I think it is. A little bit of yellow to the base of the beak. So there we go. Might be a new one for some of you that have got birdless. I'm not sure when the last time we saw African pipits is, but oh, the sunshine is magical. The color of the light is fantastic. Now, are you a different pipit? That one's got slightly different colors to it. But you must see the sun that is raining down in front of us. We've got this golden light. You can see the grass itself has taken on a very gold color. Linda Ann and Raiza, you say that's a new bird for your list. Well done, guys. I'm glad that you've added a new one. It sometimes gets tough. I know a lot of you are stuck on your lists a little bit, and particularly those of you that are over 200. And so it's tough for us to find new birds at this time. We need to try and wait for summer, and hopefully we get some summer migrants that are unusual that we can add to your list. But look at that. Isn't that spectacular? It reminds me of a scene from Gladiator, that opening scene when he's walking with his hands through the golden wheat fields. That's kind of what that reminds me of. But it is beautiful. Now, if only we had Shadow and Cub walking and striding through that golden grass, it would be quite spectacular. I fear, though, once that goes down, that we are going to feel in all kinds of new cold. And as a popular TV show says, the winter is coming. It feels like that. It feels as though we're about to be frozen to the core. Very nice, though, Senzo. Well done. It was spectacular scenery. Now, I believe Taylor's looking for the tawny-coloured cats, and I wonder if she's not tracking them down or if she has some reports on them. I did hear earlier that apparently the Styx Pride were somewhere around Chitwa this morning. Whether or not they're still there, I'm not quite sure. I'm sure Taylor will track them down. If they are there, she will be able to find them. And I believe this morning she said to me she was driving around in circles trying to locate them, and she couldn't find them there, and it's a difficult place where she was telling me. I know exactly where she's talking about because, well, when I was at Chitwa, I tracked many a cat through that section, and it is not easy at all where she was looking. So hopefully she'll have more luck this afternoon and they'll be somewhere in that area. At least it's kind of the central part of Chitwa, so I don't think they would have gone south or north from there. Monique in London. Hello, Monique. You want to know what my favorite animal is to track? Monique, without a shadow of a doubt, even though they are the toughest, is a leopard. It's just such a test of skill to be able to track them. I like tracking lions in that generally 99 times out of 100, if you know what you're doing, you can track down lions and find them, if you, given that they're within your particular area. So tracking lions is fun just because you generally find them. It's not nearly as difficult as tracking a leopard, and I enjoy the fact that you can find them as soon as you kind of get onto the tracks and you follow them correctly, you will find them. So they're quite nice, but for me the leopard is just such a test of how to track and the skill, and that even the best trackers, I've worked with some of the best leopard trackers, they don't find a leopard every single time. Some days the leopards defeat even the best of us, and so I like that. I like the fact that maybe out of the 10 times we track leopard, we only find them 2 or 3 times. That to me is far more fun than just getting out and knowing, okay, I'm going to track this every single time. The other thing about leopard is it normally takes you through thickets, and it takes you through dense brush, and it's back and forth, and it's up termite mounds and down, and you can find little claw marks on trees or smell their scent marking from that popcorn smell. So it's kind of, you use all your senses with tracking leopard, and that's why I enjoy it so much. So for me, most definitely by a long margin would be them. Now look at the beauty of these. First of all, the impalas which are running across the road, but actually let's go to our bird who's sitting in the tree, Senzo, because that bird's going to be spectacular in this light. If I can just get forward a little bit so that branch is not in the way of its face. There we go. So up on the top of the tree is a oh no, don't fly away, really? Just as I got positioned, but there was a lilac-breasted roller that was sitting beautifully in that light, and its colors were sparkling with this late afternoon orange glow that we have, and it looked really, really good. So I hope you got a brief glimpse of it as it flew away, and those electric blue wings. And we've got one impala that's still shining orange with the light on it. Now, hopefully it's not going to run away like our lilac-breasted roller, although it looks as though it is going to move. You can see how rich the orange is on them at this time of the day, and particularly because that sun is being filtered through so much dust, the coloration on them is just absolutely incredible. It gets this gold hue around their sort of orange fur, and it really is a beautiful animal when it strides like this. Not that any animal wouldn't be beautiful in light like we have now. Now hopefully they're going to be able to negotiate a thicket that they've just walked into. Where are you going, impalas? You can see it's kind of realized, hang on a second, this is not the right way. Gotten a bit lost. Silly impalas. Although they could probably clear that easily with one little jump. Right, now let's see, Senzo, I think you're going to have another crack at your sunset, because it's getting better by the second, even from where we are now. So I'm going to turn you a little bit. Just give me 2 seconds. Wow, that's very, very nice indeed. You can see this. Look at that. So Chantal's enjoying this in FC, and hopefully all of you at home are also enjoying it. It is a beautiful, beautiful sunset. The clouds always add to it. We get the most incredible sunsets and sunrise in Africa, and we are spoilt to a large degree. We often take it for granted, particularly when you're living in the cities and you're on leave and stuff. You don't notice it nearly as much, and that's one thing that's nice about our job. is that because we like to show all of you our sunrises and sunsets, we get to admire them every day, and we really do see some special ones. Today is one of those. Those clouds are just beautiful, in the mountain and in the sun going down as well. Very, very pretty. The only problem with that means that, like I say, it's going to get cold very quickly this evening. Should be an interesting last hour as we drive around and try and sort of find things in this dark, blustery conditions. Certainly will be entertaining, that's for sure. And failing finding anything, well, I'm sure between Taylor and I there'll be some funny little comments passed around. Taylor generally is quite entertaining when it comes to a lot of these things, so I'm sure we will hear from her as well. Right, sun is going down. We're going to carry on. We're going to try and start heading back towards that area where we had that Nyala alarm calling in those leopard tracks. See if we can't find a leopard that is sneaking out. And funny enough, even though the clouds that way with the sunsets are so nice, look at the clouds on this side as well. We've got beautiful colors just creeping through. You can see there, look, some big bulky puffy clouds and a little bit of orange and pink in those clouds that are looking quite ominous. I wonder if we're not going to get some rain tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if we do. Certainly looks as though rain might be on its way. Ooh, Tony, you're saying if I could imagine a super predator, could I describe it? Well, Tony, I'll tell you one thing. Before we even get into imaginary super predators, the ones that out here and in the African bush, that there already is a super predator, and one that is pretty much as perfectly designed as it could possibly be to do what it does, and that is a crocodile. So the crocodiles, and if you've been watching a lot of the Mara footage, you will have seen that the crocodiles are just unbelievable. Ooh, that sunset actually is getting better. Look at now the rays. We've now got fingers of light coming through. So we'll just have a look at it one more time while I discuss this. So crocodiles are just unbelievable. They are probably one of the oldest living animals out here in terms of, if we had to go back in time, there's just something about them. They are efficient, they are sleek, they can survive in all kinds of areas, and they really are the super predator out here at the moment. But if I had to imagine a super predator, sure. How wild can we go with our imagination? I would think that it would have to look very similar to a leopard or a tiger, one of those two. I like those two kind of patterns that they have, but it would have to be, I would say it would have to be the size of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I would want one big like that, and it would roam around, and it would just be capable of stomping over trees, and big massive teeth, almost like the saber-toothed tiger, but it would have the coat pattern of either a leopard or a tiger, and it would then roam around, and it would just cause havoc and mayhem and destruction, much like Godzilla in those movies. That's what I would reckon. For me, would be the best thing. So a big four-legged, basically a massive supersized version of what we've got now, just with much bigger canines and much bigger claws, and far more fierce, and would just cause panic and terror across the human race and any other animal that it came across. Of course, that animal would not survive because I don't think it would have enough food to survive if it was that big, but it would be cool to see. And I definitely imagine something the size of like a Tyrannosaurus Rex lounging in those massive trees, like those redwoods or something like that, or big jackalberries or something. How cool would that be? That would be epic. But look at the clouds, look how gold they are. They, like I say, fingers of light as well that is coming out from behind there. It is absolutely magnificent. Very cool. That's a special way to end the day, that's for sure. Like I say, it's been a tough day animal-wise, but we certainly have still had fun, and there's been a beautiful way, like I say, to finish. As the fingers of light coming through, and the pinks and oranges and blues of the sort of deep winter sky is not a bad way to finish at all. Not that we're finishing the drive, but just to finish the daylight hours. Now, I believe Taylor has managed to actually find her lions, but unfortunately is really battling to find signal. It seems as though the gremlins are punishing Wendy today. I don't know why, but hopefully she'll manage to sort it out and be able to get a view of those lions for all of you. It sounds like they're somewhere there. So I'm hoping and praying that for some reason Wendy will pick up signal and we'll be able to show you all of that. In the meantime, though, you're still with me, and we're going to now carry on. Now that we've really abused that sunset for all that it's worth, we're going to try and, like I say, head back to that area where that leopard tracks were, and see if we can't pick up any further signs. Soon is going to be time for a spotlight, a little early tonight than normal, given that it's only about 20 to 6. I think yesterday or the day before we only got our spotlight out just after 6, so these clouds are certainly making it get dark a little on the earlier side today, and it'll be interesting to see if the nocturnal animals do come out in these conditions. Jude, if I could be any animal or bird, which one would I be? Okay, so let's do bird first, because I think animal-wise, most definitely I would be a big bull elephant. That's what I would want to be. Imagine roaming around, kind of chomping on a few trees here and there, pushing some trees over, you have big tusks, and you're kind of just a big person that nobody really deals with. Nobody ever gives you trouble. You don't have to worry about being hunted, other than obviously by people, but you don't have to be worried about being hunted anything naturally. You don't have to fight with anyone if you don't want to. You just kind of cruise around and people give you time and space. So I would say a big elephant bull would be my animal I would like to be. Senzo, animal for you? What would you like to be? A lion. I already know the answer to that one. That's a lion. Why did I even ask? Senzo is a lion at heart, so he would like to be a big male lion. Big male lion or a female lion? Big male lion with a big mane, eh? Alright, okay. And a dark mane. Okay, it must be a dark mane as well, so that's what Senzo would be. In terms of a bird, if I was a bird, I would like to be probably a crowned or martial eagle, one of those two, and be able to fly and soar and move around. Now, I believe Taylor has got signal, so I'm hoping she also has a view of those tawny cats, but if she doesn't, she'll tell you what she would like to be, whether it be an animal or a bird.
Well, I may not have been driving on Chitwa anymore. I still don't actually know. But good news, because I know a lot of you were worried about the Styx cubs. I think they're all fine. I saw 4 of them, and I know that there were 2 hiding away somewhere else just in Chitwa, but there was really no view of them at all. They were tucked away under a shrub that you couldn't even see that there were lions there. They'd moved in obviously to get out of the wind. So that's exciting. And then as we were driving about on the boundaries, Sebastian and I heard a and we stopped very quickly. I can't believe we heard it with all the wind. And then Peter from Nkoro, it's also his birthday. Happy birthday, Peter. He confirmed that the Styx lionesses are taking down a buffalo. So unfortunately just off of our traverse, but very exciting nonetheless. It's a great meal, of course, for the Styx lions. So what we're going to look at now, I don't know, I reckon maybe I wasn't on... I'm confused. No, I think that was there. We didn't have any signal, unfortunately, for those little cubs. Maybe I was still on Chitwa because we were in line with the end of the airstrip. Oh well. Well, anyways, we maneuvered around 150 times to see if we could get signal. But unfortunately, the gremlins are strong down that side. Look here, how beautiful is that? Oh, so gorgeous. Hang on, wait. I told you we're going to check if the brakes work, Seb. Oh, Carl, you're wondering if anyone's fallen off the game vehicle. Almost. I did warn Seb though. I said, let's check the brakes. Yeah, they're fine. Oh, luckily you had the camera. Yeah. How beautiful is that? Gorgeous, of course, with the Drakensberg mountains in the distance, and there was snow on, I think it was snowing at some part of the Drakensberg. The sun has, of course, set. Beautiful trees. Beautiful pink light, of course, with a dramatic sky. And this is a great way to end the drive. But yes, so very exciting. Probably aren't going to see the Styx for quite some time. I don't know where the closest watering hole is. They're on the Cheetah Plains boundary with a net, so I suspect they might go to the dam in front of Cheetah Plains. It's probably going to be the closest. Also, a net's has got I think they've got a nice dam there too. So I don't know if we'll be seeing them. But how great is that? I don't know why, but this setting that we've got now reminds me of Jurassic Park. I don't know why. Maybe it's those two tall trees on the left. They sort of resemble palm trees, but they're not palm trees. Maybe that's why. But I just all of a sudden had the Jurassic Park theme song in my head. And hopefully it will get stuck in all of your heads too. Isn't that beautiful? But there's not much left for us here at Chitwa. So what we'll do is I think we'll start making our way back towards Djuma and see what we can find. It's getting very dark very quickly tonight. Let's carry on. Let's see, can we put a light on yet? Nah, not yet. Right. Wait, Chantal, what did you say? Can you please repeat that? Do you want me to link?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking? Because I don't know. She just said that Tristan also has a sunset. Okay, obviously that means that Tristan would like to show you all his sunset of the Drakensberg. You can decide who's got the better setting. Let's go to Tristan.
Well, I suppose, Taylor, you might have a good setting, but we've got this beautiful orange glow. It's faded a little bit now, unfortunately, but those mountains looked like they were on fire at one point. It was really quite something, and unfortunately it's just fading away a little bit. Oh well. Still a beautiful view, though, of the mountains in the distance. Problem is, it's very cold, yeah. It's nice to be in the thicker areas because you don't have to deal with that breeze, but otherwise it's very pretty. Certainly glad I don't have to do a drink stop right now because it would be very cold to do one somewhere here. Now I'm just meandering along via tele access to try and see if I can't whip out a cat out of the bag, so to speak. I'm sure there is one here. We've got our kitty kibble out under the hood. We've got our treats in our pockets. So hopefully we'll be able to find one somewhere. And let's go back to Taylor and see where she plans to go and what her plans are for, well, the remainder of this very windy, chilly evening.
I'm not sure just yet, but our plan so far is to head back to Djuma. I think it's time to go home. The wind has blown all the animals away here on Chitwa. We might stumble across the other two cubs that were somewhere in a very dense thicket. And the other reason why I don't really want to go and spend time with them is because they're very young, and it doesn't matter that we have the infrared on. If there's not an adult around, we are not allowed to view when they are under a year old. We'll try. I'd rather have an adult there supervising. If something goes, we don't want to be there and have been the cause of something like that. Right, let's keep bumbling about. Who knows? It's the time could come out. So, ooh, Lisa, who is only 8 years old, has a riddle for me. I'm ready. Oh, not Lisa, sorry, Mita. I'm so sorry, my dear friend, and we talk to each other all the time. I apologize for that. I heard Lisa the Winders. I thought we had another young friend, but it's my old friend.
To show for the next 45 minutes. So we are, unfortunately, just meandering along. We were quickly sending something to Taylor, funny enough, because she sent me a video earlier shouting at me for showing something that I wasn't supposed to be showing during the drive today. So I was just sending a message back to her just to say to her, listen, Taylor, not all of us have eagle-eye vision like she does, and she should sort her gremlin problem out while we try and sort out my vision. So that's basically the thread of the conversation. So that's what Senzo and I were talking about just now. Oof, but it is another story this afternoon. I wonder, like I say, if we are going to get rain. It's looking very ominous. Look at that dark horizon that we have in the distance. It certainly does look like rain. I know Taylor was discussing it, but that does not look like it's going to be a pleasant sort of evening. And I'm all for rain. I love rain, particularly big thunderstorms, but when it is warm, not when it is about, feels like it's minus 40 degrees out here. It's certainly not a nice time for rain, and it must just stay away until such time as we get home this evening. I'm perfectly happy for it to rain once I'm home in the night, even if it's cold, but not when we are sitting out in the bush like this. Getting wet and being cold is two of my least favorite things. Now, in a few minutes' time, we will be having a school joining us. So there are going to be some young minds aboard the vehicles, which we are going to try and educate in the ways of the wild. Now, of course, it would be fantastic if we could find some animals to show them, as it's been a little on the quiet side. But I'm heading, like I say, slowly back to the Hyena Den as well. So hopefully they'll be active. We'll get our infrared out and we'll try and educate them on all things hyenas and dispel these horrible myths about them, and show them what wonderful animals they are. So for the next sort of 45 minutes, we'll be taking a lot of their questions, and we will do a little intro for them as well. So don't worry, we still will be live and we still will be with all of you, but like I say, we'll be answering a lot of their questions and giving them a little bit of priority over the next little bit. So if you think that we change how we are, unfortunately that's going to be for them, or fortunately should we say, so that we can try and engage them and keep them going. And it's such an important part of what we do, is to try and get younger people involved and to try and teach them about conservancy and the way things work. Now it seems as though Taylor still has no signal. I don't know what she's been doing today. I feel like she's inviting the gremlins for a party. Maybe she's sent out an invite, because she certainly has been battling with signal. So you will see that we're going to end with me and start with me for the school drive. But we still have a minute before then, so hopefully we have a last minute leopard for our normal drive before school drive starts. It's now the time, Tingana. If you want to be a last minute leopard, now is your time to shine. Come on. I remember he popped out for a school drive once before at the dam, and we had such a cool sighting of him. He was sawing and vocalizing, and it was just very special, and hopefully that's going to be repeated this afternoon. That would be very nice if it was. But no sign of this leopard coming out in this direction. The last track, like I say, was apparently between the pan and the power line, so unfortunately nothing coming out. Must still be in this thicket. Right guys, so we are going to start the school drive now. We'll see you all just now. Hopefully you'll stick around and just join us as we, like I say, explore the wilderness areas with some young minds. Good afternoon, and a very, very special warm welcome to Creature Conservancy. I hope you guys are well and you're having a wonderful day, and I'm welcoming you to a very cold, very windy northern part of South Africa. The sun is just set on the western horizon, and it's now the time that all the nocturnal creatures should start coming out. So we're going to try and see if we can't find ourselves some of the predators as it starts. As you would have seen, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got Senzo. So when I was saying we're going to look for predators, we're going to try and see if we can't find ourselves a leopard. There was some tracks for a leopard, so when I say tracks, some footprints of a leopard that was in this particular area, and they were moving about, but because it's so cold and windy, I think our leopard is probably curled up in a tight ball and is just trying to stay nice and warm, and that's why we've been struggling to find it. Also, when we try and find these animals during the day, we will follow their footprints by walking and checking for them, and when you do that and it's windy, sometimes the wind blows towards the animal and it can smell you, and then it moves away, and it makes it very, very difficult to find that animal. So we'll have to need a little bit of luck. So all of you back home and in your classroom will have to try and hold thumbs and pray for us to have some luck to find the elusive leopard this afternoon. Now, I'm not on my own this evening. I do have a friend who's braving the cold with me, and her name is Taylor, and she's very excited to say hello to all of you.
Hello everybody from the Creatures Conservancy. It's so good to have you here today. My name is Taylor, as Tristan said, and on camera with me is Sebastian. And we're hoping to find all sorts of cool things for you today. Now remember, you can ask us questions, so ask your teachers, and hopefully we're able to find some fun things too. What Tristan didn't tell you is that he's actually the leopard king. He is so good at finding those spotted cats, it's unbelievable. So I don't know what we're going to find, but I did see some elephants a little bit earlier today. Now you can't normally look at elephants at night, but we've got a special light. It almost looks like everything goes into black and white, and those elephants won't be able to see it. So maybe we can try and go and find them. And the elephants are my absolute favorite animal in the whole wide world. So I'll be very, very happy if that's what I can show you this afternoon. Otherwise, there's lots of things that we can look for. So I've got this. It's a spotlight which I can use to find all sorts of animals. Now, Reeve, you're wondering, what is the biggest predator in Africa? Well, that has to be an animal by the name of a lion. So we don't get any tigers in Africa. Tigers are bigger than lions, but we don't see them, unfortunately. And we're actually looking for some lions tonight, but unfortunately we haven't found any. But this is the best time to find lions and leopards and lots of different other animals, because as the sun goes down it gets dark and it becomes difficult for you and I to see around, but that's when the predators see the best, and it's their favorite time to hunt as well. And tonight they've got a very, very, very good chance of catching something to eat, because there's lots of clouds coming over, it's very windy, so it's going to be exceptionally dark, and that wind, well, the animals that the lions will be hunting, so for instance Impala and Kudu and Wildebeest and zebra, buffalo, they're not going to be able to hear very well. So that's that's good news for the lions. It might give them a better chance, because lions actually aren't that good at hunting. They make a lot of attempts and end up missing the prey that they're going after rather than actually catching it. But we'll keep searching. There's been lots of male lions moving around, some boy lions, so hopefully we'll get to see them. I think what we're going to do is, let's go down a road called Mamba and go back towards the river system, and then hopefully once we get a chance to put our infrared light on, we'll be able to make our way into the elephant sighting. See, we can't use this light. You can see it's quite bright on the elephants. They don't like the light at all, and the same thing goes for the impala and the diurnal species of animals. So diurnal, it's quite a big word. It means that those are animals that are very active during the day. So they're normally, they're quite happy to be viewed during the day, but at night their eyes can't absorb this very bright light, and it can actually cause sort of a disorientation. So you know what it's like if you take a torch and you shine it in your eyes, you sort of see stars and you go, and it's all fun, and you can't see, but you mustn't do that because it's bad for your eyes, and it's bad for the animal's eyes too. So then you get nocturnal animals like lions and leopards, and now of course I can't think of any other nocturnal, owls, and sometimes you can see the chameleons and all these different things, porcupines. We can use the light on them because their eyes work a little bit differently, so the light doesn't affect them too much. But where we can, we will use the infrared light, the special light I was telling you about, so that we don't affect the animals at all. That's really quite cool. And we'll keep searching. But because it's so cold tonight and windy, the animals don't like the wind. They might be hiding away. So I think it will be a good spot for Tristan and I to hopefully move into some of these areas down in the drainage line, so where the rivers like to move around, and maybe we'll even be able to go to the big open plains, because now that it's getting dark, the animals like the Kudu, Impala and Wildebeest, they need to move out into the open where there's not a lot of trees, so that if a lion or a leopard tries to stalk them, they might be able to see them coming. There is a Kudu up ahead, but I can't put the light on it, so we'll see if we can have a look at it. Now, Autumn, you're wondering what the smallest predator in Africa is. Well, the smallest carnivore that we've got in this area is a mongoose, and it's a dwarf mongoose, and they're quite savage. Hello, Kudu. There's a whole family. There's actually 2 different antelope species here, but it's very dark, I'm afraid. Are you going to infrared? Okay, we're going to try and go into infrared. I'm going to roll down and get a bit closer. This is not the big special light that we've got. So this infrared only works when the animals are close by. But remember I said that they're a little bit nervous because they can't hear very well today. See them? There they run. That's a kudu. And that one over there, that's a young male kudu. So he's not fully grown yet. You can see he's just got short little stumpy horns, but they'll get really, really big in a few years' time. And they're a very powerful antelope. Would you believe that this antelope can jump 9 feet into the air? Isn't that incredible? From a standstill. They don't even need a run-up. They can go straight over the big fences in this area. There was also a little Impala, which is another type of antelope species, was roaming around. I'm going to roll forward for you, Seb. We'll just roll very slowly and see if we can get another gap. See, it's very thick here. There's lots of trees, and this is actually not a very good spot for these antelope to hang around in because they're vulnerable to the predators sneaking up on them. So that's a female. That's the girl kudu. They don't have any horns whatsoever. It's just the boys that get them, but it's not like that for all the antelope species. Some antelope species, both the boys and the girls get the horns too. See how she's listening? Look at those big ears. Like a satellite going round and round, listening for even just a crack of a branch or rustling of leaves. They need to be very careful around here. But they've got relatively good eyesight, the kudu. Not only do they have great hearing. And there's the Impala on the right that I was telling you about. That's also a male Impala, a boy Impala. You can see he's got nice big horns, and it's very clever of him to be hanging around with the kudu. I don't know where the rest of his kind are. Maybe he's just off on his own. That's not unusual. And you don't want to be by yourself out at night in Africa, especially when you are an animal that lions and leopards like to feast upon, even the hyenas. So he's probably going to follow the kudu around for the rest of the night until he regroups with some other impala, and they'll look after each other. So you don't have to even be the same species out here. All the animals can speak the same language. We just can't really understand it. So if a kudu spots a leopard in the distance, it will bark. It sounds like a dog. And that is an alarm call. And that alarm call is understood by the impala, by the birds, by the zebra, by the wildebeest, even by the leopard will know that it has been spotted. And in that way they work together to try and protect each other. So safety in numbers is very important out here in the bush. Very, very important. Now she's eating leaves, and that's a favorite food of a kudu, whereas the impala tend to prefer grass, but they eat a bit of everything. And that's another important thing out here, is that you've got a better chance of surviving if you eat a lot of different things. But not everybody's tummy is able to digest leaves and grass. Some can only eat grass, some can only eat leaves. The impala is very lucky, it can eat a bit of everything. So even at night, they don't stop eating, they carry on. Isn't that delicious? Yum, yum, yum. Well, I don't know if I'd find grass very tasty, but the impala sure does. Isn't that cool? He's also looking out though, but he knows that he's got the kudu around him, so he can relax just a little bit and feed and make the most of the night. He looks cold though. See how he's all fluffed up? And that's a way that they try and keep themselves warm. Basically, it's like he's got an electric blanket on at the moment. So in between the skin and the hair and the fatty sort of layer that they have on the inside of their body, there's an air pocket, and that warms up. So it basically becomes like a jersey or an electric blanket. Right, now we're going to put our infrared light on to our special one that allows us to see even further. And I'm going to send you across to Tristan, who's got his spotlight out, and hopefully, if you ask him very nicely, he might try and find you an owl.
Well, Taylor, I'll certainly try to find an owl. It's a bit windy, so the owls might be just sheltering somewhere close to a tree where it's going to be difficult to find them, but I certainly will try my very, very best to find an owl for all of you. They're such amazing creatures, and Taylor had the most fantastic sighting of an owl this morning, so maybe we'll get lucky with one this afternoon. But no luck yet on our spotted predator friend, the leopard. It seems as though it's still hiding in the thickets and hasn't come out yet, so we're going to carry on a little bit away from that area. We'll come back towards the end, and we're going to try and see if we can't head towards our den for the hyenas. So that's where we're going to go and check and see if they aren't out and about. We had them earlier this afternoon, and they were sitting at the den itself, and there was a mom and a baby, and so we're going to try and see if we can't find them again, and hopefully they'll be awake and they'll be jumping around, and we'll use our very special light that Taylor was talking about, our infrared light, and we'll be able to see them. But if we use our infrared light, then you'll find that we're going to see them in black and white, because it then doesn't mean that we don't hurt the animal's eyes in any way, and we can look at them at the night time, because the babies, we shouldn't really have any lights on them. Their eyes are still very small and they're not used to the lights, so we have to use a special light so that we can still see them in the darkness. The den is not far from where we are now. It's just up ahead, and like I say, I'm hoping we're not too late for the adults to have moved away already, because if the adults move away, then we're not going to be able to spend too much time with the little ones. They get a little nervous and they might run inside their den site and try and hide away from us. So hopefully there are still some of the adults here. Noah, you're wondering how we know how to find the animals. Well, Noah, there's a lot of ways that we use it. So we'll use our eyes and our ears and even our noses to try and find the animals. So obviously with our eyes, we're looking and we're trying to spot them in the grass and in the trees and all of those places, but we'll also be looking for their footprints. So we'll be able to follow what we call tracks to try and find the animals. Then we'll listen. So if we hear an animal making a noise, let's say like a lion roaring or an elephant trumpeting, then we will definitely try and find them using that. And our sense of smell we do by sort of smelling urine of, let's say, a leopard. When it sprays its urine, it smells like popcorn, if you can believe it, and that's what we'll try and use. Now look, there's our little baby hyena. I'm going to turn off our lights and we're going to go into infrared, so you're going to see it go black and white shortly, and then we will be going and having a little look at our hyena cub that is sitting on top of the den. So there we go, I'm now in black and white, and our little hyena cub is just sitting over there. You see it's got on top of a mound of soil. Now this mound of soil is called a termite mound, and it's built by little insects. But once the insects die and move away, then things like hyenas will come and look after it. And so this little hyena cub lives inside the termite mound because it's safe there, so it can stay out of the way of predators like lions and leopards and even other hyenas. And this is where it will live, and it will wait until mom comes back. Then mom will come back and either suckle it with milk, but this little one's getting a bit big now for milk, so it will be on meat. And so mom will either bring meat to the den, so she'll carry a leg or a bit of a carcass back this way, or she will take the little one to wherever the carcass is if it's close by, and they can then feed off the meat and gain the nutrients that they need. Now this little one isn't all on its own. There are two others here, but they are tiny. They're only about 4 weeks old, so they're very cute, but they're also a little bit nervous. So you'll find that they spend most of their time inside, and particularly with the wind and the cold that we've got now, I would imagine that they are sleeping. They're not going to be spending too much time out now. It's going to be trying to stay warm. But I don't see any sign of the adults. I was hoping that we would see the adults here. There's two females that are here because there's two different sets of cubs. So we have a female called Gwen, who's a very old female, and her name is short for Ingwenya, which means crocodile, because she had a very toothy grin like a crocodile's grin, so that's where her name is. And the mother of this particular little cub is called Ribbon, And this little cub is called Intima, and Intima is known because she was very, very black when she was young. So when hyena cubs are born, they don't have those little spots that you see there. They're dark black in coloration, and so she stayed black for quite some time, so she got the name Intima. So there are all the little spots, and the real name for this hyena is not just hyena, it's a spotted hyena, and it's because of that coat pattern that you see there. Now, shame, this poor little one I think is very cold at the moment, so that's why it's curled up in a little ball. It's very cute though. Now, unfortunately in the world, everybody thinks hyenas are very bad animals because they steal food and that they are dirty, but they're actually not. Hyenas are amazing animals. They are very clean. They groom themselves, they keep themselves clean just like the cats do, and they make sure that they're not dirty and covered in meat and all kinds of other things. And while they do steal food, they also will hunt for themselves and try and find their own food, so they're not as bad as everyone thinks. Victor, you want to know how long hyenas live and how long they stay with their parents. Well, Victor, you'll find that a young hyena generally stays around the den like this, where its mother will be, until it is around a year old. In hyena society, and so the clan of hyenas, you'll find that the male is very low ranking, so that means that he doesn't really get treated very well, and he actually doesn't do much in terms of raising the cubs. So he's not going to really provide food for them. He might provide a bit of protection in the form of the whole clan, but he's not really that big a part, so it's the mother that takes care. But at about a year old, they leave the den and they pretty much move away and they start to move around. But if it's a female, it will be absorbed into the clan, so it will be a part of the clan. It will stay with the clan and it will move around with the clan until it gets much older. If it's a male, sometimes it then gets pushed out and it has to go live somewhere else and join a different clan. So that does happen from time to time as well. In terms of how long they live for, hyenas can live to about 15 years. That would be very, very old for a hyena. Most of our hyenas out here are only around 12 to 13 is generally the average that they live for. As they start to get older, they get slower. And remember that hyenas compete with a lot of other... Oh, look at that, is chewing. So they compete with a lot of other predators, which means that they have to fight for food, and they often around lion and leopard, and that means when they get a bit older and slower, they can sometimes get hurt. Now you see this little one is chewing on a stick. It's not a bone that it's chewing on a stick, and the reason why it's doing that is because it's probably teething. So its milk teeth, which is its first set of teeth, are busy falling out, and its new teeth are coming through. So its adult teeth are coming through, and that is very itchy for this little hyena, and so he chews on sticks and stumps to try and ease the itch on the gums and to try and make it feel more comfortable, and that's why he's chewing on it. You can see he's also scratching. Now you'll see a lot of scratching at dens like this, because as the dens go, so they get fleas in them, and that means that the little ones tend to scratch quite a bit. There we go, little scratching on the ear. Isn't it cute though? I think he's very cute. Or she, should I say. Intima is a girl. Now she's going to probably come say hello. She's very curious, this hyena. She'll come and sniff around the car, but it's not anything to worry about, because it is still a young one, and it just wants to see what we're doing. You see, look, it's coming straight towards us. So there we go, that's me right there. Hello, little Intima. Now I'm going to try and get out the way so you can still see her. There she is. Isn't that amazing? Don't eat my tires, Intima. You otherwise are going to be in lots of trouble. But there she is. She's probably sniffing on my tires, so I'm going to have to just check, because I don't want her to eat them. No, she's just smelling, so that's okay. But she's disappeared around the front. There you can see her little leg. So it just shows you that she's very curious, and she's probably smelling all the little things that we do around the car. She might even be smelling us as people, and that's why she's checking and trying to see what's going on. Now I don't know where she's gone now. Oh, there she is. She's running back up to her mount. She got a bit of a fright when I leant over, so she's satisfied that she's explored what we are and happy that we're not something to worry about. But you see the instinct. When she's scared, she runs up to the top of the mound, and there's a little hole where she's standing just behind her, and she'll go down into that hole if something's around. So there we go. She's just lying down. Braden, you're asking what are hyenas like when they're hunting? Well, Braden, hyenas when they hunt are an animal that uses each other to hunt, and they, I don't know if you noticed when Intima was standing up that her back legs are longer than her front legs. And so with hyenas, they are like marathon runners. So they're not sprinters like the cats, like the lion and the leopard and the cheetah. They unfortunately are built to run for long periods. And so when they hunt, what they will do is they will chase an animal for as long as that animal can run for, and eventually the animal gets too tired and it falls over, and the hyenas then come and grab it. So they will use each other, and they will try as a clan to surround that animal and chase it and chase it and chase it. And they are very fit hyenas, and so they can keep chasing for a long, long time, and eventually then they grab it. And as a clan together, so multiple hyenas, lots of hyenas together, will try and pull that animal down. It's very, very interesting, and it works really well. And in fact, in some areas of Africa, the hyenas are actually better hunters than the lions, and the lions scavenge from the hyenas and not the hyenas scavenging from the lions. So it just changes where you are. It depends on the density of each one. And so when I talk about density, I mean the number of lions versus the number of hyenas. If there's an area with lots more lions, then you find hyenas scavenge, but if it's a lot more hyenas, then the lions often scavenge. Ben, you want to know what part of Africa has the most lions? Well, Ben, there's pretty good populations that are spread across Kenya, Tanzania. Then you'll get good populations in Botswana, in Zimbabwe, and here in South Africa. Those are the better populations of lions. In terms of which country has the most, I'm actually not sure which one it is now. The numbers change quite a bit, but I would say probably you would find maybe Tanzania, I would say, would have the highest population, followed by Botswana, and then Kenya and South Africa. And after that, Zimbabwe, and then you'll have a few other countries that will have lions as well. But that's roughly what I would imagine the layout would be. Like I say, it does change because some years we'll have weather that will be different in different countries. So if here in South Africa we get a lot of drought, which means that we don't get rain, which is what we had the last 2 years, then the numbers of lions theoretically must increase because the animals are weaker and it's easier for them to hunt, and they can provide food for their cubs, and so they should grow in numbers. Whereas if it's a very wet year, the animals are much stronger and it's harder for them to get food, and they find then that the numbers of lions goes down. So that will depend how the numbers work out as well. Look, it's listening now, so it's heard something. Hyenas have very good hearing. Parker, you want to know how many hyenas I've seen and how many live together. Parker, I can't tell you how many hyenas I've seen. I've seen, probably in my time as working out in the bush, easily I would say over 1,000 hyenas in my time. There's been hyenas, I've seen hyenas pretty much every day. Obviously some of them are the same hyenas, but I've had lots and lots of sightings of hyenas across lots of different countries and different game reserves, so I've seen a lot. But in terms of how many live in a clan, well, that depends. It depends on the area, and it depends on how successful the clan is. Some clans do better than others. This particular clan has had a really tough time over the last few years. They were in an area where lions had cubs last year, and the lions spent so much time here that they were very hard on the hyenas, and the hyenas had to move, and they've had a few cubs that have been killed, and so their number hasn't really grown. So in total, in this clan at the moment, I'm not 100% sure of some of the ones because we've had 2 hyenas die recently, and I'm not sure if they're from this clan, but theoretically we should have 5 adult females, and then there's a whole bunch of cubs and some young and some males that hang around as well. But in other clans, so a clan just to the west of us, not very far at all, with a neighboring clan, there's over 50 in that clan. So sometimes hyena clans can get up to 70. It really is quite amazing to see how big they can get. If as long as they can find food and water, and they can find safe places for their cubs, you'll find that they can grow and grow and grow and become very large. As soon as they can't sustain themselves and feed themselves, they'll then split into smaller groupings in the area. But you can get very large clans of up to 70, 80 individuals, which is amazing to see. Jessa, you want to know what the difference is between a boy and a girl. Jessa, this is a very good question because it's very, very, very difficult to tell the difference between a boy and a girl hyena. And the reason why is because a girl hyena actually is in charge of the clan, which means that she gets bigger and stronger. So if you saw a hyena and you saw two standing next to each other, you would think the big strong hyena is a male, but it's not, it's a female. Alright, so you'll find that with these guys, the females are bigger, and the reason why they're bigger is because it's a matriarchal society. So matriarch means the female is in charge, and she looks after the whole clan and makes sure the clan is working. And so she actually produces more testosterone than what the male does, and therefore grows much bigger and larger than what the male does, and dominates the male. So to tell the difference between male and female, you've got to look for the bigger ones. But if they're still cubs like this, it is very, very difficult. The only reason that we know that she's a female is because we saw her lady parts, and we know that that is a girl, not a boy. So that's how we can tell, but it is very difficult when they're still little babies. Not easy to identify male and female as cubs. But shame, she's very sleepy at the moment. Now, while I sit and watch our very sleepy little hyena cub, let's go back to Taylor, who's got her light out, and maybe she'll be lucky with an owl this evening, or another nocturnal creature.
We had some elephants, but they were being sneaky. They were just on the edge of this bank, so we're trying to find a better spot to view them. I've got my spotlight. I'm not going to shine it on them. Just want to figure out where they are. They're somewhere in here. I think we should get another view of them. And we put the infrared light on them, and then they just disappeared behind the trees, and that doesn't help anyone. So we need to try and find them again. You wouldn't think that big animals could hide so easily, but I promise you, elephants are hide-and-seek champions. Let's go around the corner a little bit for if you got one. It's in the thicket.
There's no visual, it's just to let you know.
Oh, okay, perfect, thanks.
There, one on the right.
There we go, that's perfect. That's what we're after. So look at me, gone completely dark. You can't even see anything in front of you. So that just shows you. How cool is that? Nothing. Now we put the special light on. Oh no.
It's coming.
Is it coming? Oh, there we go. Look at that. There's not a light. I promise you, I still can't see anything. I can only see now. I was going to say, it almost looks like it vanished, but there's the elephant. I promise, it's a mom and a baby elephant all walking together, and it was quite a big herd that we saw this morning. So they live in family groups, which we call herds, and it's mainly the girls, the females, that live together. And when the boys get a little bit older, when they get to their teenage years, they become very naughty, and they'll actually push the boy elephants out. See that tiny little baby walking there? It's so small. So small it could just about fit underneath mom's tummy. Isn't that cool? So we're very lucky because everyone else won't be able to view the elephants at this time of night. But because we've got these special lights, we are able to. But again, they're not going to stay out in the open for too long. Just because it's very windy, they want to move and try and find some shelter. But I reckon we might have an elephant come and join us in a minute. While you're looking there, I want to just check and see where this elephant is coming from. Oh my goodness, there's... Listen. Did you hear that noise? That was an elephant talking. So they can't talk like you and I. Now the most common sound that you hear an elephant make is a trumpet. But they also communicate by going, and those are tummy rumbles, and that sound can travel very, very long distance away. And actually, a lot of their communication, so the way that they talk to one another, we can't even hear. They communicate like whales communicate, through infrasounds. And isn't that cool? So they're just eating, and they have to eat all day long. An elephant will feed for 19 hours a day. Now, there's only 24 hours in a day, so that's a long time to be eating all the time. And they have got a very big buffet out here. Lots of leaves, lots of grass. There's even fruit for them to eat at the moment. I'm actually wondering what we should do, if we should just sit here, because the rest of them are coming towards us very slowly. Now, Chris, you're wondering, how much does an elephant weigh? Well, that depends on the age of the elephant, and also if it's a boy or girl. But typically, a fully grown female elephant can weigh about 4.5, I'd say about 4 tons. A really big female, maybe even a little bit more than that. So what's that, about 9,000 pounds, somewhere around there. And can you believe it? that a boy elephant can get even bigger than that. They can get up to 5.5 tons. A big Kruger National Park elephant bull can reach quite easily. So that must be what? Almost 1,000, not 1,000. It's bad. 10,500 pounds, somewhere around there. I apologize. My conversions are probably not very good. Now, I have to be very careful that we're sitting with elephants in the dark because I can't see anything that's around me. And normally elephants don't like people at night, but they seem to be very relaxed. They haven't told me, Taylor, get away from us. We are scared. It's windy. We don't want to be seen. So we can stay here for the moment. Now, Alina, you're wondering how many elephants are there in a herd? That's actually quite a difficult question to answer because you can have a small herd of maybe even just one girl, one adult female and her calves. So she could have 3 or 4 calves. That could make up a herd. But typically, I'd say in this area, the average size of an elephant herd is about... Here comes an elephant right here. Look, here's one coming right up towards the car. I'm just watching them. Just in there, just where my spotlight is, you'll see her moving. Hello, girl. Sorry, I'll get to your question now. So I'd say about between 15 and 20 elephants is probably the normal size. But because it's winter here at the moment, it's our dry season, a lot of the herds are coming together. And you can see up to 100 elephants all in one go. I'm just trying to watch her behavior. What I might do, I'm actually going to go back a little bit, if that's okay, Seth. Okay, girl, you can come out here. Now, the reason why I'm moving a little bit away from her is I want to make sure that she's relaxed. We don't want to upset the animal. Yeah, look how camouflage is behind that tree. So just by giving her a little bit of room, she might feel a lot happier to pass me. Remember, they don't normally see a lot of people at night because we don't view them. But eventually they'll start to get used to us. So you might see my light. I'm just also having a look. It's very important, like I said, that you watch the animal's behavior because they'll tell you when they're not happy with us. Can you believe that there's actually an elephant inside there and she's very close to the car? They won't just charge you and say, I'm coming for you, Taylor. I promise you, they'll say, Taylor, we don't want you here. Go away. Mackenzie, you wondering if an elephant would like to eat Doritos? I know I love to eat Doritos. However, I don't think an elephant would be too fond of them. There's nothing that tastes like a Dorito out here in the bush, I'm afraid. So they just like to eat the plants and things. But who knows? If I ever see an elephant eating Doritos, Mackenzie, well, I'll let you know. What's this young lady doing? Oh, there's another one. Can you hear the cracking? I don't know where they are. I just don't want to get stuck between elephants. There'll probably be there's one coming right out of these bushes now too. Just want to shine behind me. We don't reverse into a grey giant. Where are you, elephants? How scary is that? We can just hear them. Listen. Pushing. How's that? Did you hear that? That elephant is cracking and pushing trees over, obviously wanting to eat the bark. But I need to try and figure out where this elephant is and why it's hiding behind the trees. Oh, there's one crossing the road in front of us now. That's the girl that we saw earlier. I actually just heard her. There she goes. It's a young bull. We actually saw this bull earlier today. But I want to see this other bull come out. But Tristan's, of course, he's still at the Hyena Den. And I'm sure you'd like to have a look at those beautiful animals again. So let's go back across to him.
Well, as you can see, it is pitch black at the moment, so we can't see anything. That's with our eyes, but as soon as we use our special light, there is our little hyena cub, still curled up and sitting on its mound. So isn't that amazing that we can use a light and still be able to see what's going on, and it doesn't affect the animals at all. The animals, like us, can't see the light, so it's the same for them. That's why we can use it. You can see their eyes are open. There is a little bit of a glistening because there is a small bit of light that is being put on the eyes, but they don't see it just like we don't. So it works really well for seeing our cubs in the darkness. Esther, you want to know what my favorite animal is? Well, Esther, hands down, it is the spotted, beautiful leopard. I absolutely love leopards. They are an amazing animal. They spend a lot of time on their own, but they have the beautiful coat, and when you've seen a leopard and spent time around a leopard, it's a magical experience. So that is my favorite animal by a long way. And then I have two in second place that are close, which is elephant and wild dogs. And the hyenas then come after that. Lions are a little bit lower down, unfortunately, but it's because I like the hyenas, wild dogs, the fact that, and elephants, all of them, they have an amazing social structure. They all look after one another. It's all about the families, and they keep each other close, and they protect one another. And it's very interesting to watch those three, because they all have these strong family bonds that you don't see in a lot of the animals out here. So that's why I like spending time with them. Also, hyenas are incredibly intelligent, so that's why they make the top part of my list. But leopards for sure are my favorites. They're such amazing animals and so powerful for their size. It really is an incredible animal to watch when it hunts and when it moves, and they certainly are spectacular. And they're a tough animal to find in many parts of the world. We're very spoilt here where we work that we see leopards quite a lot. In fact, we've been seeing leopards almost every day this week. Today's the first day that we haven't. So Esther, you want to know if I have a good story about a leopard? Oh, Esther, I've got lots of good stories about leopards. I've seen many, many leopards in my time and seen some amazing things, but the most recent story that I have was yesterday. So, in fact, the last 3 days, because we followed the same young male leopard around, and he gave us the most amazing sightings. But he was left by his mom while she went off hunting, and he was sitting and he was all curled up, staying out of the wind yesterday afternoon, and he had just finished eating a tortoise, of all things, and he had been crunching away at the tortoise, and he then decided, after looking at some birds, that he was going to lie down and sleep. And then out of nowhere he lifted his head, and he was looking, and we thought maybe he had spotted something to hunt. And then he started to call, and he made a sound that we call chuffing. Now chuffing, it basically goes like this. It's and that's how a female will often call their cub, or the cub will talk to their mom. And so I thought maybe his mom had come back, and we looked, and there was this big male leopard that was staring at him. And this poor male got a big fright, and he ran away, and the male leopard came in, and then it was just chaos, and the little cub was running, and the male leopard was there with us and all over the place. So it was really quite something to see, and it was an amazing sighting. And then we watched this male leopard as he walked around sniffing where this young male had been lying. It was an incredible sighting. So that's the most recent one I've had, but I've had leopards doing all kinds of things. I've had leopards chasing animals, hunting, killing, going up and down trees, all kinds of crazy sightings. I've seen, like I say, a lot of leopards in my time, and I think we'd have to be here all year if I had to tell you all about all the stories that I've had. So I've been very, very lucky. That's the thing that our young male leopard did, as well as he had a bit of fun with elephants. He was in amongst the elephants, and he was watching them, and we had the elephant in the background and the leopard was seeing how it was walking. It was really quite something to see. So we've had lots of spoiled leopard sightings this week alone. But I think what we're going to do is leave our hyena. There's no sign of the adults, so we're going to try and head home, and on our way home past where I thought I saw where we had those leopard tracks, and maybe I'll be lucky enough to give you guys a leopard story of your own. Now, while I do that, I believe Taylor has managed to find the biggest and bulkiest of our animals out here, and they're also in infrared.
They are indeed in infrared. But before I even go onto this, Chantal, please can you ask Tristan a big favor from Sebastian and I? Could you ask him and Senzo to fetch the camera that's on the southern road of quarantine on the knobthorn tree, if that's okay? But we are sitting with these two little elephants. We saw both of them a little while ago. They are very young, especially the one on the right-hand side. It's tiny. I don't even think that's 6 months old yet. I think it's even younger than that. It doesn't really know how to use its trunk. See, look, it's going, I'm just going to bite it instead with my teeth. And it's very important that they train all those muscles up in their trunk, because they use it like an arm. And they'll stretch up to the tops of the trees or down on the ground and pick up grass and leaves and roots and all sorts of things that they will eat. As you can see, it's struggling a little bit, but both of these little elephants, they'll still be drinking milk from mom. So I don't think mom has moved away too far, especially at night. During the day, sometimes they wander and they go and play with one another, but at night it's important that they stay close to mom, or at least an older sibling, to try and protect them, because even a little elephant is vulnerable to a lion, because lions can actually catch elephants and hunt them. They don't necessarily do that here, but in Zimbabwe they are very, very capable of catching elephants, and in other areas of Africa too. But they don't do it over here. Isn't that so cool? They are so tiny. Now, even though they're so small, I can promise you, I don't even think I'd be able to pick up that smallest elephant. I think it would be too heavy for me. It probably weighs more than 100 pounds, quite easily. Shame is trying very, very hard to use its trunk now. Here we go, you got one leaf, well done. You'll get better, I promise, as you get older. No, you're just using your trunk and you're still guiding it into your mouth. It's very clever though. Now, the funniest thing is to actually watch them try and drink, because they use their trunks to drink as well, but they just suck the water up and then they hold it in their trunks. They then have to try and maneuver that wobbly trunk into their mouth, and then they spray the water back into their mouths like that. So they don't use their trunks like a straw. They can't suck it up that way, and they have to go down on their knees and use their mouth as well to suck the water up. It's very funny. Now, Sammy and Alina, you're wondering what is the difference between the boy and the girl elephants. Well, it's actually quite difficult to tell here. It's easier to tell on the adults. So, a female elephant, a girl elephant, has got a very square, sharp head. It's almost angular. And you can also look for her mammary glands between her legs. And the male, the boy elephants, they've got a very sort of rounded head. But it's difficult to try and tell the difference. It does take a lot of practice. And you'll get there eventually. The more and more you watch, I promise you, you'll be able to spot and tell the difference between boys and girls a lot quicker than I could. I'm not very good at it, I'm afraid. It does, like I said, it takes lots and lots of practice. But it just shows you how happy these elephants are to be with us this afternoon. And even this evening, because it's night time now, of course. Otherwise, if they weren't happy, Mom would have come over and said, "Get away, we're not interested in you." How cool is this? And I'm sure that after watching the show today, a lot of you are going, "Oh my goodness, I wish I could come to Africa," and I hope that you want to come and see Africa one day and all our amazing animals, because it really and truly is a special, very, very special place out here. And maybe some of you even want to become a guide, like me, like Tristan and I, or even become an incredible wildlife filmmaker like Sebastian and Senzo. How cool would that be to do either one of these jobs? Probably the best job in the whole world. I can just hear lots and lots of rustling and leaves, and I don't know who's coming towards us. Should we have a look, Seb, just in case? Because I don't know who's coming towards us. I can't find my spotlight. Definitely a big elephant. Oh, there's lots of them around here. Well, how great is that? But it's been a wonderful day, and I'm so glad that all the children and the teachers from the Creatures Conservancy joined us this afternoon. I hope that you learnt a little bit, or at least we made you laugh and you got to see some of our animals. But please come back again. We'll be happy to host you and have you. And of course, a big thank you to the rest of the viewers who were watching earlier. It was great, and I look forward again to looking at all your screenshots. Hopefully you added a couple new birds to the list. Join us again tomorrow morning for the Sunrise Safari. Same place, same time. We'll see you all soon.